Well, Facebook, here we are again. We are now live for the second time, or third, not positive which. We're going to find out if this works. Hello, everybody. I'm Peter Vaughn from Alchemy, and we are possibly not experiencing any more technical difficulties. We'll find out. If you're just tuning in, if you're already tuned in, I am here at the Cardboard Alchemy Studios, taking a moment from the prep for our next Kickstarter, GameFound campaign. Hello, Axel, Manny, and Blorp. Blorp Johnson is here. Cheers, everybody. Happy Friday, if you're watching this on Friday. Let's see. Manny says, I got nothing but a freeze frame. Are you getting a freeze frame right now, or are we working? What are we doing? Is this live video? It is a Friday in Burbank. If you're checking this out later, it is whatever day that you're enjoying your board game content. But what we like to do here is film something every week to chat board games. And then after that, we go into the Cardboard Alchemy Discord, which is a lively bunch of people. We just chat and have fun and talk about like what we're going to do for the weekend, what we're going to game and play, get to our table. And then I'll put this on YouTube so that anyone who has busier days than this can catch it at their leisure, and then also catch up on the topics we've talked about. So in previous chats in January, as we've started the series, I've talked about the promo factions that are going to be in Andromeda's Edge. I've talked about the box sizes of Andromeda's Edge. I've shown sneak peeks of the game trays prototypes. Today my topic is a little bit less baked in, which is, by the way, the power of the Flamecraft dragons when they get to space. Because I am prepping for Andromeda's Edge to go live in 4 days, or 3 days and change. We will be on GameFound, where over 20,000 people would like to know what it is that makes Luke Laurie and Maximus Laurie tick, and what art has Sergio Chavez poured into the galaxy. These are the questions that people want to know, and we're happy to answer them in just a couple of days. So I thought today's topic might just be, how do you not go insane? How Ed Baraff has these amazing things that he does, which is every time he's going to do a campaign, he talks about what's different between this campaign and the last campaign, what techniques he's trying, what worked, what didn't work. I'm not as organized as that today. I will say this is my 9th time, and for Brad Brooks, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4th time. For Chris Strain on our team, I don't know how many times Chris has run one, but we've all had past campaigns, and we do have a process, but we also have a learning curve for GameFound, so it's been a fascinating experiment. And so I don't have an organized topic. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about what kind of things I'm prepping, what is involved in this last step. Some things I wish were already done, but they aren't, and some things that I'm very excited about as far as where we are and all that kind of stuff. The target. Oh, actually, Axel has a question about stretch pay, which I'll also talk about, because GameFound is different than Kickstarter. Different UI, different features, different pros and cons. So that's a level that we're experiencing on this, because all my past ones have been through Kickstarter, and so this is definitely a journey. But generally speaking, I like to have the page up and live a couple weeks prior to the launch, but that didn't work out in this case because of a lot of factors coming together at once. So for better or worse, I think we're going to have an amazing page. It's going to be full of animation. It's going to be full of this, really great graphics. It's going to be full of taking advantage of all of the GameFound features, but it is just taking that time. and I will be at the final moment working on it to launch it. We are launching January 31st at 6 a.m. Whether or not I'm entirely ready, but I will try my best to be ready. Our whole team is working on it, so it's going to be great. So to answer Axel's question, the stretch pay feature of GameFound is a brand new feature that Alex, their chief marketing officer, Alex Radcliffe, talked about in a blog post. They've just introduced stretch pay. And how that works is each campaign can elect to either join stretch pay or not. Stretch pay is optional, and it's also turned on at a certain dollar amount. So you can decide where stretch pay starts. And so for us, we were looking at it and we thought, this actually could work out really well for us because we have a fairly large game here, and it has a big, not the biggest price tag, but it's beefy. A lot of people are theorizing what that might be, and in 3 days we're all going to find out. But what we've decided to do is we decided to turn on stretch pay for the all-in pledge. What that's going to do is it's going to, and you can set as a creator how many months you would like someone to be able to pay the stretch pay. So what that'll do is, if you're going all in, you'll have the option of paying instead of all at once. When the campaign funds, you can pay in, I believe we're going to do 3 installments. So that would help you possibly afford the galaxy if that's something you want to do. It would also kick in for anybody who did deluxe and added on enough to reach that threshold. But we'd like to set it at the all-in and see if it's a new thing for us. It's a new thing for GameFound. We want to see how that works for everyone, and how that. Hopefully that doesn't make it more complex. What the theory is behind the 3 payments is that we would then start the pledge manager after the stretch pay is concluded. So basically, the 4th month we would turn on the pledge manager for everyone, so that there wouldn't be any confusion between your payment and your pledge manager. So it's brand new. We're going to see how it works. You should see when you pledge, if you pledge for the all-in or pledge for a certain amount, you should see a bar that says, "Would you like to activate stretch pay?" And in that case, you'll be able to sign up for it then. And then keep in mind that you don't get charged anything while the campaign is live. That's so that everybody can come in and pledge or decide they don't want to get it, make up your mind during that time where we're going to show the game in its entirety. And it's only at the end of the campaign on February 23rd that you get charged. And another thing that's important for is that we are doing an all-in prize pool. If you've solved all of the puzzles that we're putting up online, all 9 puzzles, you will be entered in to win an all-in pledge, in which case you might want to adjust your pledge right before we close. But then if you're all in and we close on that last day, I believe at that moment you'll be able to choose the stretch pay, or perhaps you set it before then. We're going to find out. But that's what I know about stretch pay, and I'm excited by it because I hope it'll allow more people to get Andromeda's Edge. Blorp Johnson reports in, happy about that option. So yeah, it's pretty neat. GameFound's doing different things. They don't have all of the features that I would like to see by the time we're launching, but stretch pay is definitely one of the interesting ones that is done and ready to go. They also have something called stable pledge, which is another thing that creators can opt into or opt out of. Stable pledge says it's a guarantee that people will, the shipping prices that we report are not going to change by more than 10%. And actually, we're going to hopefully hold to the numbers because we've done our homework, or at least unless shipping goes wrong. We've weighed the products. We've figured out what we think shipping will be, and we've put a price on that. But of course, things can change, and if things get volatile in freight containers and things we can't control, there could be lots of world events. So what it says is that if the shipping price would go higher than 10% above, that entitles everybody to an entire full refund. You can still go for the game. You can say, I'll take it. It's 11% higher. or whatever it is, you can still say, I'm in. I still want Andromeda's Edge. But to be all fair, you can fully refund if we're off on the shipping numbers. And that is to protect everybody from a case where we say, well, we have your money for the game, and now shipping is 4 times as much, and if you don't pay that, then you can't have the game, which is a terrible practice. But some people, I'm not going to mention any names, some people have done it for either not malicious reasons, but just made mistakes and accidentally charged people too much. And some people probably have done it for the wrong reasons. I like to give the creators the benefit of the doubt and say that I think anyone who's charged more shipping, because I know it's happened to me, has been because shipping is a volatile thing. Brady asks, do you know how long people have to pledge? And that is, and Axel has the correct answer. That is February 23rd. Campaign goes from January 31st to February 23rd, at which point we launch into space, everybody. I think that's what happens on February 23rd. I honestly don't know. I can't see past February 23rd in my life right now. I don't know if I could see past this today. I have so many things to work on today, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see what everybody thinks. 20,000 people following. It's blowing my mind. This is the biggest amount of people I've ever seen on a campaign that I've been part of. We had approximately 5,000, 5,500 people following for Flamecraft. Of course, that was a big campaign for us as well. A lot of people came to support it, and we appreciate that. And here we're hoping to share this great game that we're making with everybody. To Infinity and Beyond is in the comments, and also to Nowhere and then some. Actually, it's funny that you say Nowhere, because there is I can't talk about it yet, but there is a faction that was inspired a little bit by Nowhere. Anyway, but there's fun things to discover in space. I cannot wait to show them all to you. We have stretch goals. We have event unlocks. We have social goals. It's gonna be fun. I'll be living on the edge, Axel, for sure. I'll be living on the edge with updates. I've been thinking lately about how when you prep a campaign, what you're actually prepping is you're prepping an entire game, and you're prepping an entire campaign, and you're prepping all of the updates possibly, if you can get ahead, to say, okay, here's what will happen if we reach this one. That's a lot of work. I might be running a couple days by the seat of my pants. Forgive me. But that's all right. We have been thinking about this game for a long time. It's very baked in the gameplay department. It has a lot to do in a lot of other departments, but it is getting there. Well, let's see. Now I don't know if we have any questions. If we don't, I might just. This is just a fun hello video as opposed to anything with breaking news. I guess the breaking news that I want to make sure I mention, so that if anyone's watching this and they've missed other ones, just so you know some things. First of all, follow the game found before we launch, because that gets you the Dragon faction from Sandara Tang, guest artist, who's drawn this beautiful Dragon faction that is totally playable in the game, very fun to play, called the Astro Dracus. Now, you get that for free if you're following and you go in for a game pledge, but you also get it if you go all in. So if you are going to do that, you're covered right now. But otherwise, get in now, because you could always decide, oh, I don't need it, I don't want to, I'm not going to back or whatever. But if you get in and follow, that's what unlocks that for you if you go forward with a pledge. That's the first thing to mention. The second thing would be, we have a Flamecraft faction, and I really haven't posted on the newsletter yet. The newsletter is imminent. So just as a heads up, the way those are going to work is that you have to be subscribed to our newsletter throughout the campaign, because we're going to find out, we'll basically take end of the campaign. We'll say everyone who's on our newsletter gets the Flamecraft faction. If you're not on the newsletter, you can also buy it. You can also go all in to get it. So, but just so everybody knows, that has not really been it's been announced to Flamecraft fans, but it hasn't been announced to everyone. We will be doing a newsletter. Another thing about our newsletter, I suppose I could talk about that for a second, because anyone who's watching here might be curious about what our newsletter plans are. We generally speaking want to do a quarterly newsletter. I've been a little bit behind on that because we've been shipping dragons all over the world. And so we're not quite quarterly, but we are going to get back to quarterly. So we are going to do our first quarter newsletter of the year. And another thing to note about Cardboard Alchemy is I don't want to make newsletters just that are boring to read. So the whole point of a newsletter to me is to tell something cool, show some good art, and give away stuff. That is the point. Good art, interesting news, giveaway stuff. And that giveaway stuff, I am dead serious. I want to be the best. Brad and I want to have the best newsletter in the galaxy, in all board game space. So we are going to give away awesome stuff every newsletter. The last quarter that we did a newsletter, we gave away a signed print by Sandara. We've given away Manhattan Project Energy Empire. We are not going to give away Flamecraft items yet, like specifically games, because we are still fulfilling some things for Flamecraft. But eventually we'll have limited things there. We'll have promos and whatnot. I have some really cool ideas going forward about some prizes for the newsletter. So this winter newsletter is no different. We're going to announce the promos. We're going to show art from a game coming later this year. We are also going to we're going to give away stuff, as I mentioned. And the other thing that I will mention is that there will be another newsletter right after this one, which will be the Andromeda's Edge launch newsletter. So all of our newsletter plans are quarterly and when we launch. That way you don't get too many emails from us. I don't think any company should be bombarding you much more than that. We'd like to just keep it to quarterly, give away stuff, and then also tell you when the launch is happening so that you don't miss out on the best campaigns out there, right? Let's see what we have in the questions. Let's see. We have any particular reason you chose Andromeda's Edge as the name? You know, that one is a good one for Luke Laurie to talk about. We actually had these other names like Pax Andromeda. Pax Andromeda was for a while because we were looking at that whole series of games. You know, apparently there's this thing about naming something with Pax in front of it. We considered, you know, whether or not it should be like Dwellings in the sense that it's named after the structures. I can't remember when Andromeda came into it. Luke had other names before Andromeda, but he's in this chat. He might actually be able to answer that. Let's see. What else did we get question-wise? Will there? Okay, John Hanley writes, will there be room for both for expansions, or will the deluxe be able to hold extra content? Now that is a question I don't know that I can entirely answer, because part of the process of working on the deluxe is working with game trays, and there are several layers of game trays, and I'm not positive that it's going to hold anything other than what we're planning for this campaign. And while I love to do that and might have a history with that in making Rise of Tribes, I literally planned Rise of Tribes to fit the entire deluxe components in the box. And then when we made an expansion, it fit the entire expansion in the box. I love doing that stuff. But I will tell you that when you're making a big game like this is ginormous scope, and I can't imagine how many things Luke's going to come up with in the future. And so I'm also not trying to make sure we have bloated boxes. So what I will tell you this. There is an expansion at launch. Andromeda's Edge, there's an expansion that comes free to everyone who backs. It will later be something in retail that will cost money. We're going to give it away as a thank you for backing. So that expansion is already planned to fit inside the box. So you'll get 2 boxes when it delivers, but you'll be able to fit your entire expansion in your standard box. Or in the case of the deluxe, it's already been packaged in there. So So something else I want to talk about with that expansion, it's reminded me that I want to mention how the expansion is changing the game. The expansion is called Escalation, and Escalation is bringing Andromeda ramped up in all ways. So the game Andromeda's Edge is actually for 2 to 4 players. That is what the retail box is going to be, 2 to 4. The expansion Escalation brings the count to 1 solo play, which is amazing. There's a lot to talk about on that, and also 5th player. And that's really exciting because now what that means is that retailers can decide to stock the base game and save on that money, or they can decide to go in. I think they should go in and get the expansion because we're going to cram that thing full of amazing stuff. It's not going to just be solo and 5th player. We're going to do different tiles, different events, different bad guys, different. Oh my God, there's going to be so much that we're going to cram into Escalation to fit its namesake. It's going to be a lot. It's going to ramp up this game. So what's going to so that expansion, though, I really want everyone to understand that one reason to back and jump in is that that expansion, might not get into every region, might not get into every store. The way to guarantee that you are getting all of the Andromeda content is to come on board now, because we are going to pack that expansion with every single pledge. Make sure everybody gets that. Let's see. Luke says, are there any stretch goals related to other games? What? Yes, there are, Luke Laurie. What a fascinating question. The fun thing about coming up with factions for this, I don't know if you've played Dwellings of Eldervale, which is one of the games that Luke has made, designed in the past. It had elemental factions that were tied to the elements. So there were 2 air factions, 2 fire factions, 2 earth factions, and so on. But what that did is it's a little tricky to come up with like another earth faction, right? Because now, do you make another tile? Do you have to go even? Does all 8 have to get something before you can finish? This one is not tied to elements, so we can come up with another faction as long as Luke and Maximus feel like making sure it's as balanced and as amazing as all the other factions, and as long as we don't burn out our dear friend Sergio Chavez, we can come up with more factions. So we have come up with some ideas. A lot of things have been tested, things that didn't work, things that did work. Obviously, we're going to take the ones that did work. We're going to get back our ideas as well. We've got a lot of things cooking as far as our ideas, but some of them are themed to games that we know and love. So, for example, let's say Brad Brooks has designed a game. That could be a theme for a faction. Or, Luke has designed a couple games. Those could be themes for factions. And that's all I can say at this time, but we're having fun with the faction ideas, let me tell you. I think that by the end of the day, or all of the days, in production here, we're going to have a really robust galaxy of factions to choose from. We've already got 8 amazing factions. 6 are going to be in the main box. 2 are in the expansion box. And then we've got 2 promo factions that we've talked about from Sandara. So now we're up to 10 factions. 10 already out of the gate. That's pretty good. I'm pretty excited by that. When you as a developer start to lose track, you're like, let me just name all the factions, and you start to go, wait, I know I'm missing one, right? You're like, now there's starting to be a lot of factions. Now it's starting to get really good, because if I had to do a top faction list, I'm like, oh, I like that one a lot, but I really like this one, and I really want to play that one. Some people's favorites I don't tend to gravitate towards, so I really find that to be an interesting thing already. Tim Chewin, if you've seen the Tim Chewin videos, he's featured 5 of the factions. So out of the gate, 5 of them have been covered, and we still have another 5 that we can talk about as far as how they play, what's different about them. It's pretty exciting, the factions. Now, the ones that Tim Chewin did cover, he covered, started with the Tulsi Porters. That actually has recently become even more of one of my favorites. I wasn't as crazy about Pick Up and Deliver there, but wow, they focused. They're focused and flexible, and credit machines. I love it. I love that. I had a really great game with them recently. So Tulsi Porters are your way. I think Tim correctly described it as a way of uh, staying out of battle, getting what you want to get done. Maybe just sort of build your engine, focus hard on your engine. Hope you can dodge a couple fights because their big ship, the Merchant Skarn, it's beautiful. It's like they're such a commerce focused faction. Their big heavy cruiser doesn't have shields on it. They're packing so much goods on it. It's a merchant ship. It doesn't have defense, but that's okay if you can save a couple some energy. You can run. Make sure you got a couple tactics cards in your back pocket so that you can get out of combat, jump the fleet, that kind of thing. You want to be able to get out of there. The Tulsi Porters, that's the first one that Tim talked about. Let's see, what else did Tim talk about? Tim covered, I know he covered the Zodian Warmongers because he loves the Zodian Warmongers, which to me is very funny because I don't not like the Zodian Warmongers, but I don't like to go battle people unless it's someone I've played a lot of games with and I want to do that kind of a smackdown. Like, for example, just going to throw this out there. The next time I play with Maximus, I saw Maximus play the Warmongers and beat up on his dad, and I think Maximus needs a taste of his own medicine. We're going to get someone to play Warmongers and thrash a little bit in space with Maximus. The Zodian Warmongers, they have battle rage. So when you go into a battle, you get more energy. And if you've spent it all, they actually lose energy at the end of the fight because they relax. But if you spent it all, you can't lose it. So they have a very fun way of just like, I'm going to get more energy and I'm going to use it. They also have a special ship called Deathclaw. The Deathclaw could be single-handedly. Now, I know there's some other ships coming. Can't wait to talk about those other ships. But Deathclaw, at the moment, is the scariest ship probably on the map because it adds targeting and more weapons, and it's just insane. I have seen people play with the Deathclaw just like only the Deathclaw just knocking stuff out, and I'm just like, okay, the Zodian Warmongers are serious about that ship. What else did Tim cover? Tim he covered the Funganar Sporgots. I know he covered that one. The Funganar Sporgots are because he had that toxic thing that they're a little mean and aggressive. I suppose they're like this faction that isn't really. They could be just I would say heads down, but I don't think they don't have heads. But the fungi have an interesting thing. They want decomposing ships, so that could be their ship or someone else's ship. So I find when I'm playing the fungi, I literally want to get into a fight on turn one and actually die. Well, actually, if I can go to a planet, get a really good moon, and then go into a fight and start to decompose right then and there, then that's going to build up my carbon production as the fungi. And then their other power is to build structures out of organic material, which is just fantastic. A lot of times I'm playing, and if someone's playing the fungi, I'm like, hey, how did you have the resources for that? Oh, right, because you can build out of anything. That is a tough faction to play against, and they're really good. And that's not even talking about their ship, which is the toxic spore ships that Tim was talking about. That's possibly up to 6 ships in your arsenal that can damage another ship when they lose. So you knock me out, I release the spore cloud, and you also suffer. So that's a really good faction. That would be probably my second choice for top faction right now of the ones that have been released that you know about. The other thing that Tim Chewin talked about is he talked about the Dark Star Acolytes. Now they're definitely a contender for my number one faction, and why? Because they play so radically different. They, as Tim showed in his video, they have a ghost ship. Which, by the way, we are not making a ghost ship, but boy, I wish we were making a ghost ship, like a custom ghost ship. Maybe someday, put this in the future Andromeda pile when we do other things. I want to see a ghost ship, or somebody can help me model a ghost ship, and we'll like have an unofficial ghost ship. Because what they have is they have this ghost ship that when they're completely out of workers or ships and they're coming back to station, they get to activate the ghost ship and then use a region. That's why it doesn't make sense to make a piece, because you're essentially just using the land space and coming home. But still, I keep thinking about that ghost ship. Anyway, the ghost ship is really great because what it does is it makes you play differently, and you don't want workers. I mean, you basically, what's funny is you go get an upgrade, which is your science vessel, which you really want because they have a great science vessel, and then you're like, oh crap, I got another ship. I don't want ships. So then you think, okay, I'm playing the Darkstar Acolytes. I want to build. I want to get rid of my transports. It's this whole thing where your brain is going, I want lean and mean. Looks like we already have a ghost ship. It's just using its cloaking device. That's all you have to do. Suspend disbelief, everybody. It's there on the board the whole time. See, when you open the board, watch out that you don't, shuffle around the ghost ship. But you'll never know if you do, because it's there somewhere in the box. Now there's going to be a customer service thing. I'm missing my ghost ship. It's permanently cloaked. I can't find it. I've rattled it around. I can't see the ghost ship anywhere. Axel says release the Kraken. Do you think that there's going to be a Kraken in space, Axel? Do you think it's possible that there could be a Kraken in the middle of space? Oh, man, I don't know. It's possible, I suppose. I don't know what's in space. We're going to find out what's in space. Can you believe that? We're going to find out there are creatures in space of all different types. We have no idea what we're about to run into. Well, I know. I can't tell you yet. There are dragons out there, as Axel says. We know that for sure. There's sentient fungi. There's dragons out there. Oh, and the last one that Tim Chu uncovered, there's mechs out there. The Mecharon Synthborn. Another amazing faction. The Mecharon Synthborn they have a ship called the Terminator, first of all. That's one of my favorite thematic things that Luke has done so far in Andromeda's Edge. There is no other way. I mean, granted, there's a couple of things we're tying to that, of course, are fun. The science vessels have a certain look to them that reminds me of a certain ship. But thematically, I love the Terminator. The Terminator is an amazing idea. The mechs just keep coming. And I actually saw my friend Tate Wu. I don't know if you guys know Tate, but Tate Wu is another board game publisher. Currently, actually, he's launching a game a day before us. That's right. He's launching Fork, just Fox, Owl, Rabbit, Kale. It's a fun card game, a small card game, a trick-taking game that has an amazing day one deal. And he's launching on January 30th. And he has played Andromeda's Edge, and he had this amazing thing where he went out there with the Terminator, and he would do one of two things. Either he'd go and he'd survive, or he'd go and he'd get a huge loss, but he had this amazing plugged-in moon for every time he lost. He got great stuff. And he also had a repair system so he could get that Terminator. Actually, I think he always tried to die and used his repair moon to immediately go into what's called the repair barge. I know you guys don't know the game entirely yet, but the repair barge allows him to use that ship and go into his engine. Except it wasn't the Terminator that he was doing that with. He was using one ship to go, because the Terminator comes right back to your board. So he was using one ship to use to run his engine, and the Terminator to cause havoc. And so he was building single-handedly the biggest industry engine I think I've ever seen, and was crushing it. And I was like, we have to stop Tate. We can't let him play this game anymore. So Tate and we have a fun time because we're both in Los Angeles. Brad's in Los Angeles, and we run something called First Play LA. We're actually running this meetup for several years now, where it tests games that are, prototypes. It's like a mini convention day where basically it is happening this Saturday. Tate and I run it, where you come in. If you're a board game designer, you take a 2-hour slot. You put down your game. It can be in any form, and you get feedback. You find out what people think of it. So, Tate and I have run that thing for many years and thrown lots of different game ideas in there. And he's a great designer. So, if anyone's ever in LA and you want to catch one of those, we actually on our Cardboard Alchemy Discord, we have a First Play LA chat zone. I'm happy to use that chat zone as more of a doesn't have to be local to LA, we could turn that into board game discussion, like design topics. We've got a lot of designers in our Discord. Might as well tap into those designers and see if we can't have some more conversations. Let's see. Mike Vanderveen, who says Macaron Synthborn nearly won a play last night. Now, Mike Vanderveen, just to talk about this, is going to be one of our guides in our Cardboard Alchemy Discord. We're going to open up the TTS to play Andromeda's Edge. Coming up when the campaign goes live, you will be able to log in and play. The rulebook will be in there. The player aids are on the table. So you could technically just start playing, learn how to play, go. You could watch one of the how to plays like John Gets Games, or before you play. There's going to be a lot of coverage of the game that you could soak up. Or we've got several volunteers like Mike Vanderveen who are going to offer their time to teach the game to anybody who wants to come in and just skip the rule book, learn from somebody who knows how to navigate space. We're calling them ace pilots. And if you find an ace pilot who's putting up a time to play, jump in. That could be a better way to get in on Andromeda's Edge and experience that game without having to go through the rule book read, which, let's be honest, it is, it's a very readable rule book, I hope you'll find, but it is a big chore to do that. And Luke's doing a shout out to Print and Play, which is, part of Mike's affiliation is with Breaking Games and Print and Play. And Print and Play is actually who we use to make all our prototypes, all the tiles, all of the paper goods in the box and whatnot. Now we use a friend of ours, Mike DePasquale, to do our minis, to do the resin minis and the buildings and so forth like that, which is great. And we actually are getting a Game Trays print, a 3D print from Mike coming in the mail. I suppose if you've stayed this long, I can tell you that there's a really cool Game Trays that's going to be on the page that I can't wait to reveal, which is like what I'm affectionately calling Game Trays Mountain. I don't know if there's got to be a better name for that. At the moment, I'm calling it the Mountain. It holds all of the buildings. It holds the tactics cards and the moons and the discovery tokens. It's this massive thing to organize your table, to keep it all. It has the cards tucked right behind the buildings with room for sleeving those cards and room for sleeving the tactics cards. And it is this really cool thing because it'll store the developments and they go right back in the box. So like when you pull the game out, you're ready to go. And then if you haven't built, say, spaceports, they just stay right where they're going to go back in. So the prototypes that we use Print and Play all the time. Sometimes we use an outside vendor like Mike DePasquale. We've used different people in the past to work on, say, if we've got a Game Trace prototype or a wooden prototype. I don't remember Bob's last name, but there's this guy who's been helping us cut wood pieces. Luke usually makes prototypes that are they're like an idea. They're a concept. They're usually dowels that are cut. There's like, hey, this is what I think will be really cool as a building someday. And then sometimes we go have those pieces, cut by someone else, laser cut or do something. We work with a lot of different people, a lot of talented freelancers to get these prototypes done. But the bulk of the cards are printed by Print and Play, and we're very fortunate. They have amazing quality and amazing turnaround. They're my favorite printing service in the board game industry because they're so fast, which is important because I come up with files at the last minute and I need them to go ASAP. So let's see if we have any other questions. I am going to get, by the way, this comment wall to be working out some quirks with the streaming. My idea is to have the comments in like right where I'm looking at them is right where the camera is so that I can do a better job. Also, like in the future, this will be post Andromeda, to have these where I can share a screen and show an early sketch or something like that. We're going to save all that because we are imminently launching Andromeda's Edge on Tuesday. We thank you in advance if you're going to come along and be part of the crew that sees that off to space. I think I'm going to call it here and get ready for the Discord chat. So we're going to head over to the Cardboard Alchemy Discord, open up some audio for anyone who wants to chat. Axel asked one key question I suppose I can answer before we go, which is that I know that no one can hear you scream in space, but will there be sound effects added to the raiders in this game? And actually, you've got the answer right there. There is no sound in space. That is our official statement on that one. So we are not doing sound bases. However, I do believe that you're going to see an amazing amount of deluxeification and fun. So thank you, Luke, for joining us. We'll see you on the dev and design chats as we finish all the things we need to do. And thanks, everybody, for watching. If you're catching this afterwards and you think of a question for a board game publisher, feel free to ask. Let us know what you want to know about how to make board games. We're happy to tell you. And we'll see you soon for Andromeda's Edge launch. Cheers, everybody.